So you've been studying English maybe for months, maybe, I don't know, for years even. You understand grammar rules, you've got vocabulary lists somewhere in your brain. But then, when it's actually time to open your mouth and speak, you just freeze up. Does that sound familiar?
Oh, absolutely. It's an incredibly common challenge for English learners everywhere.
Right.
And that's exactly the problem a source we're diving into today tries to solve. It's called Speak Real English for Beginners Today.
Okay.
And it's really all about skipping that waiting game, getting you speaking confidently right away.
And that's our mission here in this deep dive, to pull out the most essential, actionable advice from this source, specifically for you, the beginner English learner who feels, well, stuck or maybe nervous about speaking.
Yeah.
This source really pushes back against that idea that you need to be ready or perfect before you even start.
Exactly. It argues that the traditional way of learning, it often leaves beginners studying about the language.
Right. Theory.
Without ever getting comfortable actually using it, in real life.
Okay, let's unpack this then. What this deep dive will get into straight from the source is how to bypass that freezing point. We'll explore what this source means by real English, why it insists you have to start speaking immediately.
Like from day one.
Yeah. The super useful phrases it highlights, simple daily habits to build. It's surprisingly liberating take on grammar.
Which is a big one for many learners.
Totally. And some powerful tricks to boost your confidence.
The core message from this source is just very practical, not academic.
Right.
It says, forget the textbooks and maybe those boring grammar drills for a moment.
Right.
Focus on real talk, real English, and just getting started. It's an approach really centered on action.
All right, let's dive into what that action looks like. First, this source really wants us to understand something fundamental. What even is real English?
Yeah, it makes a very clear distinction there. Real English, according to this source, isn't the formal, sometimes kind of stiff language you find strictly in older textbooks.
Right, like very proper.
Or stuff focused purely on abstract grammar exercises. No, it's the living, breathing language people actually use, in everyday conversation.
And they give some fantastic, really clear examples to show this difference, like comparing classic book English versus real English.
Right. Think about introductions. A textbook might teach you, hello, how do you do today?
Okay, yeah, very formal.
Which, yeah, it's grammatically correct, but in real English, you're far more likely to hear, hey, how's it going? Or even just, what's up?
Yeah, you definitely hear those way more often. Another example he uses is like the difference between I'm going to the supermarket and I'm going to the shop.
Right. Much more common.
And those examples, they illustrate the key things the source points out. Connected speech, where sounds kind of blend together.
Heavy use of contractions like go, and just more casual, sometimes shorter expressions.
So why does the source emphasize learning this kind of English right from the start? Especially for beginners.
Because, it argues, learning these real forms helps you do two really critical things early on.
Okay.
First, you start to sound more natural yourself, which is great.
Yeah.
And maybe even more importantly, you significantly improve your ability to understand native speakers when they talk at a normal pace.
Oh.
Because you're tuned into the actual patterns and forms they use day to day.
I see. So it's about both speaking and listening comprehension. Makes sense.
Exactly.
And based on this real English focus, the source says it concentrates on specific practical areas for beginners.
Yeah, things like everyday phrases, common questions you'll actually hear and need to ask, short, real conversations to model, some easy pronunciation tips, and just lots of practice.
It's all geared towards immediate usability, it sounds like.
That's the idea.
Which brings us to what feels like the source's absolute cornerstone principle for beginners. It's presented almost like a rule, start speaking from day one.
This is where the source really challenges, maybe, the way some people think about learning.
How so?
It strongly advises against waiting. For anything. Don't wait until you know all the grammar rules. Don't wait until you think your accent is perfect.
Which might be never.
Exactly. And definitely don't wait until you magically feel confident. That's the big one.
And the reasoning is powerful in its simplicity, isn't it?
Yeah.
The source basically says confidence isn't something you need before you speak.
Right.
It's something you get from speaking. The only way to become confident is to actually do it.
It frames speaking quite wisely, I think, not just as knowledge you acquire, like facts, but as a practical skill, like learning to ride a bike or play guitar.
Yeah. That analogy really hits home.
You learn by doing, by practicing, by, wobbling a bit and correcting yourself.
It requires action, not just thinking about it. And to get over that initial hump, that fear, the source suggests you make a very specific, very small promise to yourself each day.
Yes, it encourages you to commit. I will speak English today, even just one sentence.
Just one sentence.
Yeah, it reduces the pressure massively, but it still ensures you take that action.
Okay, so if the core command is speak real English from day one, what actual words should a beginner start with? The source provides what it calls a toolkit of essential phrases.
Right. It labels these as super useful phrases every beginner should know, and it groups them into common practical scenarios, stuff you'll actually run into.
Let's walk through some of those key groups. First up, the absolute basics for just connecting with someone. Greetings and introductions.
Yeah, your entry points. Things like, hi, how are you?
Okay.
Responding with, I'm good, thanks. And you. Simple back and forth.
Right.
Then, nice to meet you. Say, asking, what's your name? Finding out, where are you from?
Easy stuff.
And saying, where from? I'm from your country. Or, I live in your city. Covers that initial chat.
Simple, but essential. Next, talking about your life, your routine, talking about your day.
This section gives you phrases to describe common daily actions, like I wake up at 7 a.m., I go to work, school, I like to watch TV, I cook dinner in the evening, I go to bed at 10. Basic personal info sharing.
And for beginners, this next group is absolutely critical, I think, asking for help. Because you will get stuck.
Oh, totally essential. Phrases like, excuse me, can you help me?
Yep.
How do you say this in English? What does this word mean? Can you repeat that, please?
Crucial.
And the vital, I don't understand. These give you the tools to navigate those tricky moments.
The source also includes very practical, real-world scenarios like ordering at a restaurant or a cafe.
Super useful. Phrases for getting what you need. Can I have a coffee, please? I'd like a sandwich. Asking the price. How much is it? Confirming, like to go or for here. And of course, the always important, thank you very much.
And finally, just simple phrases for general, everyday conversations.
Yeah, this covers asking about someone's job. What do you do?
Oh.
And giving example answers like, I'm a student, I work in IT, I'm a teacher. Also asking about interests. Do you like music?
Right.
With typical responses, yes, I love it. Or, no, not really. And talking about preferences. What's your favorite movie? With an example like, my favorite is...
But the source is really clear on this. Just knowing these isn't the point, is it?
Not at all.
You have to practice these phrases out loud. Saying them is how they become actually usable.
Exactly. It's that jump from passive knowledge to active skill. You got to move your mouth.
And it goes a step further, right?
Yeah.
By including examples of mini conversations designed for you to practice speaking, even if you're alone.
Yes. It sets up these simulated exchanges. The structure is simple. The material gives you a question or a statement.
Okay.
And you, the listener, you actually say your own answer out loud, completing that interaction.
Ah, so it's interactive practice, even solo. It focuses on the same practical scenarios, like introductions.
Yeah, introductions, ordering at a coffee shop, talking about hobbies, those kinds of things.
And the idea is that practicing this way helps your brain sort of build the pathways for spontaneous conversation faster.
Faster than just listening or reading, definitely. It's active application making those connections.
Okay, so once you've committed to speaking from day one and started using these basic phrases, what kind of daily habits does the source suggest to keep building that momentum?
It lists several key habits, and they're pretty easy for beginners to integrate. The first one might feel a little unusual at first.
Oh.
Speak to yourself every day.
Speak to yourself. Okay, what does that look like? Like talking to the mirror?
Sort of. It's more about narrating simple actions, like describe your morning routine as you do it. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm making coffee.
Oh.
Or just say what you're doing in the moment, like, I'm cooking eggs now. It just keeps your English switched on, active in your head.
Okay, I can see how that would make it feel more automatic over time. What else does it recommend?
Repeating real English you hear. It's a technique called shadowing.
Shadowing, right.
You listen to a few sentences, maybe from a show, a YouTube video, or even this deep dive, and you immediately repeat them, word for word, trying to match the rhythm, the intonation, the pronunciation. The source says this is really effective.
Shadowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're training your mouth and ears at the same time.
Exactly. Another great suggestion is using language exchange apps.
Ah, technology.
Yeah. The source mentions popular ones like Tandem, HelloTalk, Speaky,
Okay.
and it points out that loads of users on these platforms are also beginners or learners themselves.
So it's maybe less intimidating.
Yeah, it could be a lower pressure way to chat or even have simple voice calls with real people, find practice partners.
That's a really practical way to find people without even leaving your house.
Totally. And related to the self-practice idea, it suggests recording yourself speaking.
Ooh, okay. Listening back to yourself.
Yeah, just talk for a minute or two about your day or anything, then listen back.
That can be tough initially, hearing your own voice and mistakes, but I guess it would really show you tangible progress over time.
Exactly. It's a great way to track how you're improving and notice things you want to work on. And finally, the source recommends learning and actively using just one new real-life expression each day.
Just one. That feels incredibly manageable. Like, if you're going clothes shopping, you learn, can I try this on? And you make sure you actually say it.
Precisely that. Focusing on just one new useful phrase makes it much more likely you'll actually absorb it and use it in the real world. Small steps.
Now, one of the biggest mental blocks for beginners is grammar. That fear of making mistakes. What's the source's take on grammar?
This is where the source offers a lot of sort of freedom. It says, look, grammar is useful, eventually, but beginners should not make it their main focus right at the start.
Really? Why take that approach? Isn't grammar important?
The core argument is you absolutely do not need perfect grammar to start communicating effectively, especially not in basic conversations. Getting your message across, being understood, that's the initial goal. Not perfect sentence structure.
And it uses those great analogies to illustrate the point, right?
It does. It reminds us that babies, they learn to speak fluently and interact long before they understand a single grammar rule.
True.
And it makes the very relatable point that even native English speakers make grammar mistakes all the time.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So the advice is basically just jump in. Don't overthink it.
Pretty much. Start speaking N now W. Don't wait until you've mastered every verb, tense, or preposition.
Okay.
Make mistakes. The source actually says mistakes are a crucial part of learning. You learn from them.
Right.
Get corrected. Learn naturally from using the language in context, and your grammar will improve over time as a result of speaking, not from studying rules in isolation before you ever use them.
That really does take a lot of the pressure off, doesn't it?
It's meant to.
But even with that permission to make mistakes, opening your mouth can still feel scary. That shyness, that nervousness. The source tackles this head-on with some specific confidence boosters.
Yeah, it acknowledges that feeling shy or nervous is totally normal. That's the first step.
Okay.
And then it provides practical little tricks to help combat those feelings.
Like something as simple as smiling. How does that help?
Exactly. It suggests smiling when you speak because apparently it can physically help your voice sound more relaxed and natural, less tense.
Interesting.
It also advises speaking slowly and clearly. There's no race. You don't need to rush your sentences. Take your time.
Okay, slow and steady. And using gestures, like hand movements.
Yes. Using gestures or body language is a powerful communication tool. It helps get your meaning across, especially when you're maybe searching for a word.
Right.
And it makes you feel less reliant only on perfect verbal expression. Another key piece of advice is choosing your practice partners wisely. Seek out people who are supportive, who are encouraging, not people who might judge you or make you feel bad about mistakes. Find your cheerleaders.
Focusing on positive reinforcement, that's huge for confidence.
Absolutely. And maybe the most important mindset shift it suggests is to focus on progress, not perfection.
The journey, not the destination.
Kinda, yeah. Every single time you speak, even if you make errors, you're learning, you're improving. That's the win right there.
And it even gives you a specific affirmation to say out loud, like a little mantra.
Yeah, a simple sentence just to remind yourself, I'm learning. I'm not perfect, but I'm improving every day.
That's a powerful thing to tell yourself. I am improving every day.
It really is.
So pulling all these pieces together, the real English, the speak from day one, those essential phrases, the daily habits, the relaxed view on grammar, the confidence tricks the source, combines them into a simple, actionable daily plan.
Yep, it proposes a very manageable routine, just 20 minutes a day.
Only 20 minutes. That feels very doable, especially for a beginner with a busy life. How does it break that down?
It suggests splitting it into 2 short segments. First, a 10-minute morning routine.
Okay, 10 minutes in the morning, what happens then?
While you're, getting ready, having breakfast, whatever, you can listen to some English. Could be music, a short news bit, or even re-listening to part of this deep dive.
Passive listening. Okay.
And during that time, you actively practice saying just one or two of those real English phrases out loud. Just get your mouth moving a little.
Okay, so incorporating listening and a tiny bit of active speaking into something you're already doing. Smart.
Right. Then later in the day, maybe evening, whenever works, there's another 10 minutes dedicated purely to speaking practice.
All right, the second 10 minutes, what's involved there?
This is where you can combine a few techniques we talked about. Maybe do that shadowing thing, repeat 3 or 4 sentences you heard earlier. Describe your current actions or your day out loud to yourself, that self-talk habit. And learn and repeat that one new, useful phrase you chose for the day. Make sure you say it.
So it's a mix of mimicry, self-talk, and adding new tools to your kit.
Exactly. A little bit of everything focused on active speaking. And the source makes a pretty strong promise based on this routine.
Oh, yeah.
It says if you commit to these 20 minutes daily, consistently, you will see significant improvement in your speaking ability. You will get better.
That's a very encouraging promise, isn't it? Grounded in that consistent, manageable action.
It really is. Takes away the overwhelm.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Speak Real English for Beginners today, the central liberating message for anyone out there struggling to start speaking just seems crystal clear.
Yeah, it's that you don't need permission. You don't need perfection. And you definitely don't need to wait any longer.
Right.
The essential step, the only step that matters initially, is simply to start speaking English today.
The source shifts the perspective so beautifully. English isn't just a subject you study passively from a book.
No.
It's a tool you use, a skill you practice, a way you connect with people and the world. It's something you do.
And the practical path forward is clear from the source. Integrate those real-life phrases. Speak a little every single day, even if it's just talking to your reflection.
Yeah.
Use the resources available like apps or shadowing, and practice without letting that fear of mistakes shut you down.
And it leaves us with this incredibly powerful final thought, doesn't it? Something really worth holding on to.
It does.
Your English doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful.
That's it right there. Communication is the power. Connection is the power. And that starts the very moment you choose to open your mouth and speak.
You absolutely have the capacity to do this. Remember what the source says. Start small, speak real, and know that you're improving every single day.
Keep practicing, keep connecting. You've got this.
That's all for this deep dive. We really hope this exploration of the source material has given you the clarity and maybe the little push you needed to start speaking English confidently, starting right now.